Welcome to GTI TV. With us today is Joey Morace and my daughter Katherine, co-hosting with me. So Joey, let's talk about where you started at the beginning of your journey being a financial advisor, and how would you describe your journey so far, and what would you maybe have changed to kind of make a bigger impact?
Sure. I mean, we could start back when I was 5 years old. I was the kid that was picking the pennies and nickels up from underneath all the vending machines, and
were you like saving them for something, or?
Totally. I was just a weirdo saving every little penny. My parents were really good at instilling that in me from a young age.
That's hilarious.
But
no, did they have those conversations with you at that age, like when you were 5, or you just kind of picked up on that?
What they were really good at was putting that idea that, you know, money and finance is important from a really young age. And so, like, again, just because I was weird, like, my favorite thing was to, like, get the piggy bank and just, like, watch it fill up.
I would do that too.
Like, that was just so cool to me. Like,
it was so rewarding to see, like,
Yeah, exactly. And then, you know, it gets to a certain point, you open it up and you're like, oh my God, I have however much money, which is, like, probably not that much.
Right,
but,
it's like $5.
To
you know,
it's like huge,
Absolutely.
It's the fruits of all your labor.
Yeah.
Right? And so, sorry, it was a goofy answer. But, you know, fast forwarding, in 2019, was it 2018, I ended up getting my degree in finance with the idea that this is the route that I wanted to go.
So you already kind of had that vision when you started as your major?
Yeah, I mean, I took some detours.
Who doesn't? That's what college is for, you know?
Yeah, I definitely took a couple detours along the way to kind of like figure it out. But have you ever read Rich Dad, Poor Dad?
Of course, all of them.
That's the first book that my dad asked us to read. That's so funny.
Is it?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay, I lent my copy to a buddy and never got it back, so I'm gonna have to bug him for it.
Yeah.
So I can give it to my son. But one of my favorite things was, he said, take your 20s to just develop your skills. Job hop a little bit, do whatever you have to do. Just fine tune your skills so that you'll be able to do whatever it is that you're really passionate about. And so I worked at Amazon for a few years, working on like my leadership skills. I did sales.
Tough job. Amazon, that's a tough place to work.
Oh yeah, that's brutal. It wasn't as bad for me, but I did sales for a solar company for a few years, and that really helped me develop my interpersonal skills, communication.
And rejection, handling
rejection therapy, big time.
Yeah.
Big time.
Yeah.
And then you take the schooling of the finance side, and then you blend all of those things together, and you spit out what you see in front of you today.
Okay.
And so to answer your question of what would I have done differently, probably nothing on that side, although I think school is great, but I don't think it's always necessary.
We talk about that all the time,
I think in a lot of situations, it is the right move. But I also think you and I especially grew up at a time where it was kind of like shoved on us.
Absolutely.
Right?
Well, and there's a difference between schooling and education. Education is the most important thing. And you said earlier, the University of YouTube, which I've never heard that phrase before, and I love it, and I'm gonna coin it now. But there's such a difference, and I think people make the mistake of thinking that they have to live in the same sphere. Like, if you are being educated, that means you're going to school and you're taking that path. Where you know, you went down so many different paths and had different jobs. You probably gained more from selling solar, and I don't know if you did the door knocking, but being rejected and then having a one-time close and all of, you probably learned more from that than an entire semester of schooling in finance, you know? And so having that experience and getting that education from the real world in all of these different places, I think is so important.
Yeah.
My boss used to joke that 1 year knocking doors was the equivalent of getting your master's.
Yeah.
It absolutely is. And one thing, I'll go back to the education piece. You said, you know, it's not for everyone. Well, it depends on how you go to school, right? So I've always thought that, yeah, you have to go to classes and you have to take tests and do all that. That's part of the school part of it. But your real education comes from your interaction with all the different kinds of people. And if you live on campus, then you have to learn how to fend for yourself and wash your own clothes and clean and all that kind of stuff.
Oh yeah.
So that's a whole change, and you're learning a lot just by how you interact with people and different people. You get the foreign exchange students coming in, and you have to learn to operate and do global kind of things and learn how to adapt to their way of doing things, which is a little bit different. It might be better in some cases, you know, and that makes it a very good educational experience, and you learn to deal with different cultures of people and different types of people, you know, dealing with somebody from down south versus somebody from the north, west coast, east coast. They just operate differently, even within our country, let alone the world.
Oh, agreed.
So that's what I find to be the education piece. So I always ask the students that I mentor or whatever I'm working with, go on campus and can you see yourself being successful in there? I happened to go to Kansas State, and you know, we were in lecture halls that had 400 or 500 people, and you had farmers, kids that were coming, and they had maybe 10 people in their class, their high school class. That's intimidating.
That was.
I don't know if they're going to be successful
very
in
similar
a
to my
big
experience.
campus like
Really?
that.
Yeah.
You came from a small school, or?
I did. I grew up in East Haddam, Connecticut.
Okay.
If you guys are familiar.
We are, yeah.
Yeah. So my graduating class had like 94 students.
Okay.
Back in 2013. And so
Not to age yourself or anything.
It's okay. It's okay. To jump into my first semester at UConn, my very first class was bio.
Yep.
So this huge lecture was probably 400 kids packed into this room, which was the equivalent of my entire high school. And my brain just didn't really operate that way. It's not what I was used to, and so it was definitely a shock. So there was a lot of adjustment there.
Isn't it fascinating too how much you learn about yourself from being in those situations? And like you said, that's not how you operated. That's not how like your brain functioned. But you wouldn't have known that until you got into the situation, and now you can identify that.
Right.
You know?
Right. And I try to take that into every meeting that I have with my clients now, because speaking for myself, like I'm a very visual learner.
Okay.
Right. So that's why YouTube is so great for me. It's because I get to like see it right in my face and like how it actually works. And so when I'm in these meetings with folks, you know, I can explain how, you know, a Roth IRA works,
Right.
Or what compound interest would look like, or whatever the case. But when we're running plans, I get, 100 different slides that I could pick from that would be tailored right to them, so that they can see the effect of that compound growth, or of the tax implications of doing Roth versus traditional. And so we get to show them all these different kind of things to make sure that it actually is resonating with them.
Yeah. And it's not just throwing a bunch of information, you know, that is going to kind of go in one ear and out the other. It's like you kind of are able to simplify and say, okay, based on what you told me, this is kind of where we should gear what we're going to learn. Tell me from there. And it just goes back to your approach of education first, with your clients.
Yeah, and you have to figure out how do they learn, and how do they absorb information? And you ask them questions. Do they understand this? Is this right for them? Have them explain it to you. So is this a good fit for what your overall vision of it is? And then you might have to change that next year. You add a child or something. You have to change it because it's going to change. It's always going to be changing. So you need to have a base. I like that you mentioned before about having a base, and then you expand from maybe look at other investment opportunities. Get into real estate. You talked about Kiyosaki, right? Get into real estate and or REIT or something like that. There are all kinds of different options that you can get into if they understand that these options even exist. Right. A lot of people don't even know, private equity investing. They have no idea where to start, right?
Yeah.
So
and
be an entrepreneur, at least of your family. Be an entrepreneur to kind of get into all these different areas, because people kind of get focused in on their job And it doesn't matter what job you are, you're kind of give everybody options and resources to be able to explore these different things, because they might find that this is actually more appealing to them, because it's getting into more things that they can get the income that's necessary to continuously invest.
Right.
So it's kind of a cyclical thing, right? I mean, and that's where the connecting comes in place. And if you truly connect with someone, now you're a trusted advisor, and they're going to listen. They're going to be more willing to listen and learn and grow. So it's good that you went through that process of how you learned, and you know other people kind of learn and grow different ways as well.
Yeah, and what we get to do, and the fun part is figuring that out with, whoever you're sitting across the table from. So what we end up doing is, I'll have that conversation, I'll throw the slide deck up and we'll talk through it, and if it just isn't clicking, I'm sending them different resources that they can look after the meeting. Or, being part of Northwestern Mutual, there's like 5,000 or 10,000 other advisors in our network who have different life stories and different ways of explaining things, and I can ask one of them to come aboard and say like, hey, I have a client that would really connect well with you, and then the next meeting they get to explain it their way, and then you just see the light bulbs go off.
And it's so funny, we talk about that all the time. It's not always hearing the information, but it's where you are to receive it, and then how it is being told. Like, we joke all the time about sauna and apple cider vinegar, because from the time I was young, like high school, if that's considered young, but I told my parents, I'm like, oh, lemon juice and apple cider vinegar is so good for you, and oh, the sauna, it's amazing. And then it wasn't until probably 5-7 years ago, something like that, my dad is like, I just learned about this thing, apple cider vinegar. It's amazing. Have you heard of a sauna? I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. For years I've talked to it, but someone else said it in the way that, and it was actually Mom then got into juicing, and so it's just one of those things where it wasn't me, like the way I was saying it wasn't connecting with them, but someone else was in the right position to be able to share that, and ultimately we got to the same point of view. And it's one of those things I learned early on in my management career of, if you're having a conversation with someone, how do you know if they are receiving the message you're intending them to receive? Because they can oh, we're on the same page. And similar, we had an instance about something silly, but I was like, we're totally not understanding what is happening here, and checking in of, what did you hear from what I just said? And that phrase has helped me so much. I don't know, it sounds like that's kind of what you do with your clients, of checking in with them.
Yeah, my job above all else is to ask a million questions, right? And make sure that they are understanding. And I think, what do they say? The best way to know that you understand something is if you can teach it.
Yeah, we talk about that all the time.
And so we'll kind of quiz them, just okay, so we decided to do this. Why are we doing this? And then I'll have them explain it to me. And
that's exactly what I do. And I usually do things in teams, with teams of people, so they're going to connect with somebody, on the team. So it just makes it much more impactful when you have a team of people that can kind of explain it, and they have different personality types. So you're kind of getting into, that's why when you said you bring in, how many people at Northwestern?
Too many.
So, I mean, you can get them engaged with any 5,000. Now, you're not going to bring them all in, but you can kind of determine personality and see if this will work. Because the goal is to get them to understand that there are these options out there that they weren't otherwise, they weren't aware of these options and resources. You don't want a product dump on them, but you want them to be exposed to the different things, and does it fit into your plan? Here's how it could fit in, but do you think it will fit in? And the other thing is just make sure you implement.
What I've come to learn is to kind of overgeneralize, but there's really 2 types of people who are really value driven, people who are comfort driven. And I'm a comfort individual.
Oh.
So when I'm speaking with somebody, I love to crack jokes and be really buddy with you, and I'll explain, the value of things, but I don't lean heavily into that.
Okay.
Right? It's the comfort. I want you to understand that I'm in your corner, Brad. I've got your best interest at hand, and I want to make sure that we like each other. If we're going to be working together for the next 10, 20, 50 years, like we should probably like each other a little bit.
Yeah.
And you have to build that trust. And that's really kind of, the connection is so important.
Right.
And a lot of people don't do that. When I mentor, and I talk to a lot of people about what do you need to do more than anything else, is do this, connect.
Yeah.
You know, and be honest. You have to be completely transparent and get them in a position that they trust you, because again, you talk about money.
Right.
People think and there are a lot of scams out there. There's a lot of fraud and whatnot. So you want to make sure that you've got them in a position that they're understanding that, hey, we're trusted here. I'm going to give you the best advice, but in the end, it's you making the decision. It's not me advising you. It has to be you understanding it well enough to put you in position. Otherwise, you're not going to implement. You're not going to set up your system, and then we're going to check back with you and have that connection that I check back with you in 3 months because we like each other and you take my calls. And now we kind of, did you execute? Where'd you fail? You were going to put in 100, you only put in 50. Or maybe you started doing 100 and then you said, I'm going to put 200. Great. Now how do we explore other options, investment options, to help solidify your business, your overall plan, and get you to the point that, you know, we described earlier about $5,000 when people were born. And if you put $5,000 into your account for 65 years and it replicated the S&P 500, $73 million. So get people in that, and they can stair-step their way to it. At first, maybe even $5 a month, but automate it.
Right.
Even go through Acorn. Just do something that you get that $5, then move it up to 20, and then 50, and so forth and so on. When you get a raise, take half of it and invest it.
Oh my God, the lifestyle inflation is like the biggest detriment.
Yeah.
Are you familiar with the term?
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah,
absolutely.
yeah. So you get the
inflating
raise.
your lifestyle as you get more money. Yeah.
Yep, and then you want to keep up with the Joneses, get
Yeah.
the house, the car. I know it's cliche, but the reality is like that's what happens to people.
Yeah.
And it's if you could just have just like a tiny bit of discipline to just say, okay, like I did earn that raise, but I'm gonna take half of it and put it towards the thing that I really know I should be, even though it's not fun right now.
Well, and also looking inward of what really matters to me, not just, oh, I'm told I should care about the new shoes, the new TV, the new whatever. What do I actually care? If it's quality time and I want to spend it on vacations with my family, perfect. But then I don't need a mansion necessarily, you know, and kind of balancing that. But, you know, and we have to wrap up, but I want you to go back to, you said comfort and value driven. And I want you to finish what you were saying because I was really invested in it and we got sidetracked. But so you're a comfort person. What would a value person be?
So the best example I could give you is just like your very almost stereotypical engineer, where they just need to know absolutely every little bit about how the sausage is made and, you know, every intricate detail about it, right? Because that's how their brain works. They're very, really value driven. And so, you know, maybe I'm not the best person to connect with them.
Okay.
So I'll go to my network of 5,000 advisors and I'll pick, you know, one of my good friends who I know works well with that type of individual who can just, you know, vomit all of the info just how they want it. And then you have kind of the best of both worlds.
I think that's such a beautiful way to categorize it, though, comfort and value, and kind of knowing, and like everything, it's a spectrum, right? So where do you fit in there and understanding who you're talking to? I think that's brilliant.
Yep, and it really does. It's not profiling necessarily, but just trying to make the connection so they absorb it. Because people, their analysis by paralysis, they want to know how the sausage is made, but even when they kind of figure it out, it keeps changing all the time, and it does. That's life, right? They put new automation in there, so I recommend to people, go ahead and use AI, and just put in AI, and then you have to filter it and make it your own, but kind of get some different viewpoints, because it gives you instant viewpoint. I mean, use it as a tool, not as a crutch, and it can be very helpful, especially when you're talking about health insurance or life insurance or investments. Just use it as a tool. I mean, it's out there, and use it to your benefit rather than detriment. They could even put it in AI and say, what, a 6% return over the course of 40 years, what will that get me? They'll give you instantly and be like, this is why I do with this. So I get the 3% raise or 5% raise, and I take 2.5%. Here's what this is worth. This extra $100 a month is $1,200 a year. This is what it's going to be worth when I'm retired. This is why we do this.
And that's why we do, semi-annual or annual check-ins with all our clients. Because
Exactly.
life is always changing, your plan is changing. Let's make sure that what we're working on is still working for you.
And then when we have corrections in the market, that's the time to have some cash on hand so you can buy it.
Opportunity.
Right? Opportunity. Thank you very much, Joey. This has been wonderful. From Katherine and I, thank you, GTI TV. We appreciate it. And until the next time.